My alpha mate nearly lost his life during a vicious rogue wolf attack. It was his assistant Scarlet who threw herself forward and took the silver blade meant for him, saving his life. But because of the silver poisoning, Scarlet's wolf fell into a feral rage state. The pack witch said she would need to mate with an alpha every full moon to survive. Out of gratitude, my mate fucked her every full moon and my wolf would suffer greatly from the perceived betrayal of my mate. He knelt before me, tears streaming down his face, his whole body trembling. Evelyn, she saved my life. I can't just watch her die. After each full moon, he would give me $1 million as compensation. And every time Scarlet miscarried, he would bring me the finest healing herbs to ease the pain I felt through our mate bond from his betrayal. In just 1 year, my bank account grew astronomically. I became the bank's most valued client. Until this time, when he disappeared with Scarlet for 3 months. When he returned, he dropped to his knees and grabbed my hands, pleading desperately. Evelyn, if she miscarries again, she'll die. I can't let my savior perish. I'll claim the child as yours and cut all ties with her. Please, just let this child be born, okay? My eyes instantly filled with tears. I fought hard to keep them from falling. Fine. If that's how it is, then the pup I traded my life force to the witch for, I'll get rid of it. My alpha mate Ryan's assistant Scarlet got silver poisoning while trying to save Ryan. Because of the silver poisoning, she would need to mate with an alpha every full moon to survive. Out of gratitude, Ryan fucked her every full moon and my wolf would suffer greatly from the perceived betrayal of my mate. Scarlet had 5 miscarriages in 3 years. Until this time, after he disappeared with Scarlet for 3 months, Ryan came back and begged. Evelyn, if she miscarries again, she'll die. I can't let my savior perish. I'll claim the child as yours and cut all ties with her. Please, just let this child be born, okay? Because of Ryan's kneeling, the pack house suddenly fell dead silent. The moment I shifted my gaze to Scarlet, Ryan instinctively stepped in front of her, shielding her with his body. Seeing him like this, I couldn't help but laugh. I'll leave the pack house to make room for her to have a peaceful pregnancy. Ryan panicked instantly, crawling forward on his knees to grab my hands. Evelyn, please don't do this. I already told you, I'll claim the child as yours. Scarlet is my savior. I've already compromised this much for you, can't you just stop being unreasonable? Though he was trying to coax me, there was a hint of blame in his voice. At this moment, Ryan's father, the former alpha, couldn't stand it anymore. He grabbed Ryan and pulled him up from the ground, frustrated. Then he glared at me. A Luna who can't produce pups is completely unfit for the role. The pack members are already dissatisfied that there's no heir. Since Scarlet is pregnant, you should give her proper recognition immediately. Don't let her suffer, and put the pack's minds at ease. The former alpha picked up his phone to call the Wolf Council, demanding they dissolve the alpha's mate bond. She's not a Luna the pack recognizes. But the next second, Ryan snatched the phone from his father and hung up. He turned to his father angrily. What nonsense are you spouting? Evelyn will always be my Luna. What's between Scarlet and me is just out of necessity. I automatically tuned out the noise, just staring at him blankly. Whether Ryan had developed feelings, even he probably wasn't sure. But looking at his eyes right now, I could see it clearly, they were exactly the same as when he looked at me during our passionate romance 7 years ago. I turned and went back to the bedroom to pack my luggage and leave. Ryan didn't hesitate and followed me. The master bedroom's bed still had remnants of fluids that hadn't been cleaned. I couldn't help feeling nauseous and rushed to the bathroom to dry heave. Ryan came in and kept watching me through the mirror above the sink, then spoke carefully. Evelyn, I've been thinking maybe it's actually good that Scarlet got pregnant. After all, we haven't been able to have a pup after all these years. I don't want you to keep suffering trying to conceive. The words were right at the tip of my tongue. I almost wanted to tell him I was pregnant. But then I saw his white suit, the white towels hanging on the rack, the white sheets, and the row of white wolf plushies arranged on top. I swallowed the words back down. He used to hate white the most. All his everyday items were gray or black. He never compromised his preferences to accept other light colors, not even for me. But now, for Scarlett, all of this was enough proof that Ryan's heart had already changed. I gave a perfunctory and lay down on the bed with my eyes closed. He wanted to say something more, but seeing my lack of interest, he didn't continue. Just as I was about to fall asleep, Ryan suddenly shook me awake. Before I could react, Ryan had already pulled me out of bed. He was so frantic he could barely speak coherently. Scarlett was attacked by rogue wolves on her way back and she's in the hospital. You know she's my savior, I have to go to her. Stay home and wait. I'll come back to be with you once I handle this. Again with the savior excuse. I'd lost count of how many times he'd used it to cross boundaries. Before I could say anything, he rushed out and drove away, as if afraid I'd cling to him. I sighed deeply, then made an appointment at the private hospital for an abortion tonight. At the hospital, the doctor nearly dropped her jaw when she heard I wanted an abortion. She'd witnessed all the suffering I'd endured trying to give Ryan a pup. Tried to dissuade me, I remained unmoved. Helplessly, she sent Ryan a message to prevent us from regretting this decision. Alpha, when your Luna is angry, you need to coax her. Come to the hospital and apologize quickly, or your pup will be gone. Then she patted my hand comfortingly. Don't worry. I've seen how much Ryan loves you. He'll definitely come apologize within 20 minutes. At that moment, through our mate bond, I felt the familiar pain, the betrayal of my mate's body. I squeezed my eyes shut and spoke. Doctor, let's begin the procedure. He's busy. He won't come. The doctor sighed but ultimately respected my decision. Cold instruments stirred inside my abdomen, and my heart ached along with the physical pain. When the surgery ended and I returned home, it was already dawn. I began packing my luggage, preparing to leave this place. Just as I finished, Ryan suddenly burst in and grabbed my wrist fiercely. Seeing how frantic he looked, I thought he'd seen the doctor's message and learned about my abortion. But the next second, Ryan kicked over my suitcase and stared at me like I was his enemy. Evelyn! How can you be so vicious? Trying to harm Scarlett and her pup again and again. I stared at him blankly. When I tried to speak, Ryan cut me off. If I hadn't arrived in time today, she and the pup would have been killed by the rogue wolves you sent. When your plan failed, not only do you show no remorse, but you're trying to run away. You can never appear in front of Scarlett again. Move to the villa I bought you. He ordered the pack guards to drag me out, take me to the villa, and watch over me. I didn't send those rogue wolves to attack Scarlett. I never thought of harming her pup. No matter how I explained, he wouldn't listen. In desperation, I pulled out the abortion report and spoke frantically. I'd rather abort my own pup than hurt Scarlett's. I was packing because I promised to leave the pack house to make room for her, not because I'm fleeing from guilt. I was prepared for Ryan's interrogation about my abortion. But I never expected that even with the evidence right in front of him, he still wouldn't believe me. He angrily tore the abortion report to shreds. Enough. Accept the fact that you can't get pregnant. Stop making up lies about being pregnant to avoid responsibility. His hand, veins bulging with rage, stopped just short of my throat, but he couldn't bring himself to strike. Then he snorted angrily, turned away without looking at me, and waved for the guards to drag me away. I stopped struggling and let the guards drag me, allowing my tears to fall silently. Ryan seemed to have forgotten that the villa he'd given me was no longer in the pack center due to the territory relocation, but dangerously positioned at the forest's edge. The place was pitch black. The electrical circuits had deteriorated from years of neglect. In his rage, the Alpha hadn't thought to arrange for anyone to prepare the villa before my arrival. The guards he'd ordered to watch me left immediately after dropping me off. I wanted to leave too, but the forest edge was even more dangerous at night. I curled myself into a ball, forcing down the fear rising in my chest. I kept telling myself to wait for daylight, then I'd leave. Just wait for daylight. But what I never expected was that extreme terror would arrive before dawn. My wolf suddenly caught the scent of several rogue wolves breaking into the villa, but I was too weak from the recent abortion to shift and fight. I could only quickly hide in the bathroom, instinctively calling out to Ryan through our mind link, but there was no response. My hands trembling, I called Ryan's phone. For some reason, it wouldn't connect. When it finally did get through, Ryan, rogue wolves have broken into the villa. Save me. Hearing my voice, he panicked completely and was about to rush over. But Scarlet wrapped her arms around his waist. Darling, where are you going? The baby and I both want you here with us. Are you going to bring the Luna back? But I'm so scared. My baby has almost been killed by the Luna so many times, the Luna's wolf is so strong, and aren't there guards at the villa anyway? She won't be in any real danger. Ryan hesitated. I closed my eyes and shouted, suppressing my voice. Ryan. Who's more important to you, me or her? He spoke with forced patience. Evelyn, of course it's you. You know you're the one person I can never leave in this lifetime. But I'm doing this to repay her debt. I swear, once the pup is born, everything will go back to how it was. His words sounded so sweet, but in the end, he chose Scarlet once again. After he hung up, my phone suddenly received a taunting message from Scarlet. Let's see who's really more important, you or me. I put away my phone with no time to think, getting up to flee. But my body was heavy from the recent abortion. I couldn't even shift into wolf form, and my speed was nowhere near fast enough to outrun those rogue wolves. I was quickly surrounded. I screamed in terror. But the lead rogue wolf slashed me viciously with his claws. Shut up. We heard the pack's Luna is all alone at the territory's edge. Ryan killed so many of our wolves in the territory wars these past years. I want him to taste the pain of losing his most beloved. But Ryan has good taste, his Luna is very beautiful. Before we kill you, let's all have a taste of Ryan's Luna. The wolves closed in on me, and I dodged frantically. Feeling my bones crack, I fell into complete despair. Combined with everything that had happened recently, I was nearly crushed. I knew that if they caught me, I'd suffer a fate worse than death. Our relationship was hanging by a thread. The current Alpha wouldn't yield an inch for me now. But I couldn't die for someone worthless, couldn't die without dignity. I gathered all my strength, struggling forward until I finally reached the hidden compartment in the corner and pulled out the gun inside. Without hesitation, I fired at the surrounding rogue wolves. Thank God for all those shooting practice sessions, my aim was good. The silver bullets hit their hearts. Several rogue wolves fell. I struggled to my feet and staggered toward the villa's exit, not daring to stay any longer. From the emotional stress, blood began dripping from below. My phone had been smashed in the struggle, so I could only keep walking forward. Finally, as dawn gradually broke, there were people on the road. I borrowed someone's phone and called for emergency help. The moment I was lifted onto the stretcher, all my strength seemed drained and I lost consciousness. But when I arrived at the hospital, instead of receiving immediate treatment, I was awakened by scalding water being poured on me. The doctor saw what happened and frantically shielded me. Alpha, are you insane? the Luna just had an abortion. She's severely injured with multiple fractures. I opened my eyes groggily, only then seeing Ryan standing menacingly in front of me. Before I could figure out what was happening, Ryan pulled me off the hospital bed. Evelyn. Who gave you the nerve to spread rumors about Scarlet? Haven't I been good enough to you? Can't you stand the thought of my pup existing? My head was buzzing. Having just escaped from danger, I had no idea what he was talking about. Then he suddenly received a call from his assistant. Alpha, get back to the pack house quickly. Scarlet can't handle the slander and she's threatening suicide. Ryan lost all reason in his panic, grabbing me to leave. But the doctor beside us was responsible. She blocked Ryan's path. Alpha, the Luna just had an abortion and barely escaped danger. She's severely injured and has lost too much blood, she needs surgery. Ryan's eyes were bloodshot with rage. He shoved the doctor hard to the ground. Get out of the way. Stop conspiring with Evelyn to lie to me. I know her body better than anyone, she can't possibly get pregnant. Her injuries are fake too. If anything happens to Scarlet, I'll have all your lives. His wolf speed was incredible. I was dragged along, my heavy body thrown onto his back as he ran. The violent jolting made me feel like I was falling apart. When we reached the pack house, he set me down and quickly shifted back to human form, rushing to comfort Scarlet who held a silver blade to her throat. Scarlet, please calm down. I promise you, as long as you don't hurt yourself, I'll immediately break the mate bond with Evelyn. Whatever you demand, I'll agree to everything. Ryan was crying desperately. But Scarlet turned to look at me before speaking. Luna, my relationship with Alpha is completely innocent. He only got involved with me to repay a debt. I even agreed to let you be the pup's mother after birth. But why won't you give me a way to live? I frowned deeply, having no idea what she was talking about. I hadn't done anything. At that moment, Ryan's assistant caught my eye and gestured for me to look at his phone. If the Alpha doesn't love you, he just doesn't. Stop using dirty tricks against Scarlet. Exactly. Those two are truly in love, the unloved one is the real homewrecker. Look what you've done to Scarlet. A vicious woman like you should just die. I frantically grabbed his phone and saw the news that had hit trending topic number 1. It was intimate photos of Scarlet and the Alpha. Online users were viciously criticizing the third party who had interfered in the Alpha's mate relationship. Suddenly I remembered her words, let's see who's really more important, you or me. I never imagined Scarlet could be so ruthless to herself just to win Ryan. I shook my head frantically, trying to explain. No, it wasn't me. But no one at the scene would believe me. Clearly everyone online was criticizing the homewrecker. But in reality, all the servants in the pack house came to accuse me. They sympathized with the weak victim Scarlet online, called me vicious, and said I wasn't worthy of being Luna. My body was too weak, and the reality crushing down on me made my vision blur. Then Ryan suddenly grabbed me, but his eyes remained fixed on Scarlet. Apologize to Scarlet. Ryan pressed my head down hard while speaking gently and frantically to Scarlet. Scarlet, look, she's apologizing to you. I promise you, she'll never dare bully you again, or I'll punish her severely, okay? Scarlet shook her head and cried out. Darling, let's end it all in this lifetime. In the next life, let me meet you first. No, don't. I only want you in this lifetime. Scarlet. I don't care about those rumors, no one is more important than you. You're not allowed to leave me. Hearing his love confession, Scarlet's tears flowed like a waterfall. Ryan seized the moment to rush forward and snatch the silver blade from Scarlet's hand. The feeling of getting her back made Ryan hold Scarlet and weep with joy. Never do such foolish things again. Today I finally see my true heart, you're the one I love. I'd really go crazy without you. Everyone cheered for her rescue. And I was pushed to the edge of the stairs by the crowd. Just as I was about to turn and leave, everything went black as someone maliciously shoved me down the stairs. The bottom was lined with silver objects. Even an ordinary werewolf would die completely falling down there, let alone me after just having an abortion, with my wolf so weakened it had fallen into dormancy. My body fell weightlessly downward. I squeezed my eyes shut tight, accepting my fate. As Ryan declared his love for Scarlet in front of everyone. Suddenly there was a loud bang from below. The cheering upstairs stopped abruptly. Ryan suddenly felt sharp pains in his chest, as if he'd lost something very important. He asked with confusion. What happened? Everyone's attention had been focused on the two of them. No one saw me being pushed down the stairs. I was pierced in the abdomen by the silver objects deliberately placed at the stairway. Blood gradually spread around me. The person who maliciously pushed me had already vanished without a trace. A servant arriving for the shift change discovered the Luna lying in a pool of blood and quickly called for emergency help. She wanted to rush upstairs to tell the Alpha, but was blocked downstairs by the crowd watching the excitement. Ryan suddenly froze in place. He wasn't sure if he should still put the ring on Scarlet's finger. He admitted that his declaration just now had been spoken in too much excitement, too much worry for Scarlet. For some reason, an invisible force was stopping him, preventing him from putting on the ring. Scarlet stared at him innocently, speaking with some guilt. Darling, what are you thinking about? Suddenly her little mouth pouted. Are you regretting it? Do you despise my reputation? If that's really the case, then I might as well die. She pretended to wipe away tears, then pretended to turn and reach for the silver blade again. Everyone rushed to stop her. Miss Scarlet, what are you doing? The Alpha just saved you, you can't be foolish again. That's right. You don't know how worried he looked. Oh my, if you had really hurt yourself then, your lover would probably have followed you in death. Ryan's assistant quickly ran to his side and whispered in his ear. Alpha, what are you standing there for? Quickly put the ring on. Miss Scarlet. Exactly. Didn't you already say you were sick of Evelyn and wanted to marry Scarlet? Right. Now everything you wanted has come true. That woman probably won't dare come bother Scarlet anymore. Your happy life is about to begin. No, it was all wrong. Everything was wrong. When he said he was sick of me, it was just saving face and speaking against his heart. He had never actually wanted to break the mate bond with me and mate with Scarlet. Even if I had done something wrong, he didn't need to punish me by proposing to Scarlet. After thinking it through clearly, he frantically put away the ring, stood up, and looked around wildly in the crowd. He was searching for my figure. But after looking around completely, he couldn't see me anywhere. Ryan's heart began to panic. He turned to leave, but Scarlet grabbed his arm. Her eyes were brimming with tears. Any man who saw her would want to hold her in his arms. If this had been before, Ryan definitely would have done the same. But now he felt inexplicably irritated. Let go. He shook off Scarlet. Then, feeling his attitude was poor, he turned back to explain to her. Scarlet, we'll forever only have the relationship between savior and saved. You and I, it's only to solve your condition. Your pregnancy was also an accident. Letting the pup stay this time is purely for your safety. Maybe when we're together, there have indeed been emotionally intense moments that inevitably led to some ambiguity. But I'm clear in my heart, the person I love is only Evelyn. Our relationship cannot go any further. But from now on, during full moons to preserve your life, I will still mate with you. He turned and strode forward, no longer caring about Scarlett's emotions. Ryan's steps grew faster and faster, his heart growing more and more urgent. So urgent that he began running in large strides toward the exit. He wanted to see me quickly. When he thought about what he had done to me, his heart filled with overwhelming self-reproach. Ryan stood frozen in the empty pack house, his hands trembling as the silence pressed down on him. Why had he treated me like that? The question hammered in his skull over and over. His wolf was pacing restlessly inside him, whimpering with distress. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. What have I done? He whispered to the empty room, his voice cracking. He pressed his palms against his temples, trying to think clearly. When had everything gone so twisted? When had he become someone who would hurt his own mate? Even he couldn't understand his own actions anymore. It was like he'd been possessed, driven by some madness he couldn't name. Desperate to fix things, he reached out through our mate bond, trying to connect with me through the mind link. Nothing. His heart clenched as he realized the terrible truth. He had blocked the connection himself in his earlier rage. No, 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 he muttered frantically, clawing at the mental barriers he'd erected. The damage was done. The link remained severed. His hands shook as he fumbled for his phone, dialing my number with desperate urgency. The phone rang once. Twice. Straight to voicemail. Evelyn, please pick up. Please, I need to talk to you. I need to explain, he tried again. And again. Each time, the cold automated message mocked him. The sound made his wolf howl with anguish. Damn it, he roared, his control finally snapping. He hurled the phone against the wall with all his strength. It shattered into pieces, the sound echoing through the empty house like his breaking heart. Ryan sank into a chair, burying his face in his hands. His shoulders shook as the weight of his actions crashed down on him. What kind of mate was he? What kind of alpha? His wolf was clawing at him from the inside, demanding he find me, demanding he make things right. The animal instincts that should have protected me had somehow been twisted by his human stupidity. I have to find her, he whispered, standing abruptly. I have to apologize. I have to. Movement outside caught his eye through the window. It was the doctor from the hospital, the one who had been treating me earlier. She was walking quickly toward the pack house, medical bag in hand, her face grim with purpose. Ryan's eyes narrowed. She had helped me deceive him about the pregnancy, hadn't she? That meant they had some kind of relationship. She would know where I was. Without thinking, he burst out of the house and sprinted toward her. Doctor, he called out, his voice hoarse. Doctor, wait. She was bent over a large medical case, organizing equipment with practiced efficiency. Monitors, 4 bags, emergency medications. This wasn't a routine house call. Sir, I'm extremely busy right now, she said without looking up, her voice clipped and professional. If you need directions or general assistance, please find someone else. I have a critical emergency, someone has fallen downstairs and I need to save their life immediately. Ryan's blood turned to ice. Wait, what did you say? Someone fell downstairs. The doctor finally looked up from her equipment, and when she saw his face, her expression shifted to shock and then blazing anger. Alpha? Her voice rose in disbelief. Alpha Ryan? What are you doing here? You just took away your severely injured Luna from my hospital. Why aren't you taking proper care of her instead of wandering around asking random questions? Ryan felt the world tilt beneath his feet. What do you mean? Your mate, the doctor snapped, standing up and facing him with fury blazing in her eyes. She didn't receive proper post-surgical care, she was already severely injured from the rogue attack, and now she's fallen downstairs and been pierced by silver objects. Each word hit Ryan like a physical blow. No matter what she may have done wrong, no one deserves to be treated with such cruelty. How could you bring her back here in that condition and then just abandon her? I don't understand, Ryan whispered, his voice barely audible. What silver objects? What fall? She was fine when fine. The doctor's voice cracked with emotion. Fine. Alpha, with all due respect, your Luna was dying when I last saw her. Ryan's legs gave out. He stumbled backward, catching himself against a nearby tree. Dying? The word came out as a broken whisper. She was bleeding internally from multiple fractures. The doctor said, the emergency equipment here isn't complete enough for this level of trauma. My healing power is nearly exhausted from treating her preliminary injuries, but those silver wounds, she shook her head grimly. Silver wounds are beyond even my abilities to fully heal. She needs surgery. Immediately. Ryan's world was spinning. Nothing made sense. Doctor, please. You have to tell me exactly what happened. What silver objects? What fall? I swear to you, she was just fine a moment ago when I left her. The doctor studied his face carefully, as if trying to determine whether he was lying. You really don't know, she said slowly. Alpha, your Luna fell down the main staircase in your pack house. She was found at the bottom, unconscious and bleeding, with silver decorative objects embedded in her abdomen. But that's, Ryan's voice cracked. Who would put silver objects at the bottom of stairs? That could kill any werewolf who fell. That's exactly what someone was counting on, the doctor said grimly. Ryan felt sick. The implications were hitting him like waves. You said someone pushed her. The servants who found her said they heard arguing upstairs, then a scream, then the crash. By the time they got there, whoever pushed her was gone. Oh God. Ryan's knees buckled completely. Oh God, this is my fault. If I hadn't brought her back, if I hadn't accused her, if I hadn't left her alone with all those people who blame her, Alpha. The doctor's voice cut through his spiraling panic. There's something else you need to know. Something about why your Luna was at the hospital in the first place. Ryan looked up at her with haunted eyes. She's still so young, the doctor continued, her voice heavy with sadness. And the pup she was carrying, the one she traded her life force to the witch for, she terminated the pregnancy tonight. The words hit Ryan like a silver bullet to the heart. Pregnant, he whispered. She was really pregnant. Yes. And her body is weaker than an Omega's right now because of what she sacrificed to conceive. The life force trade left her vulnerable, and the abortion procedure, the doctor shook her head. She should have been resting, healing. Instead, she was brought back here without proper medical care, and now this. Ryan's mind reeled. Every accusation he'd thrown at me, every cruel word, every moment of doubt crashed down on him. She told me, he whispered, his voice breaking. She tried to tell me she was pregnant, and I called her a liar. I tore up the abortion papers. I said she was making it up. Alpha, the doctor said gently, I've been treating Luna for years. I've seen how desperately she wanted to give you a pup. The lengths she went to, the pain she endured when she came to me tonight asking for an abortion, I tried everything to convince her to wait, to talk to you first. What did she say? She said you were busy. That you wouldn't come. The doctor's eyes filled with sympathy. I sent you a message telling you to come quickly, that your pup was in danger. But you never responded. Ryan remembered. The message had come while he was with Scarlet, while Scarlet was wrapping her arms around him, begging him not to leave. And he had chosen to stay. I was with her, he whispered. I was with Scarlet when you sent that message. And I chose to stay with her instead of coming to Evelyn. The full horror of what he had done crashed over him like a tsunami. Pregnant? Abortion? So everything Evelyn told him was true. She really was pregnant. She wasn't lying to compete for favor. Thinking of this, he suppressed his voice and roared at the sky. Recalling the doctor's words about, just escaped danger. So when I called him saying I was in danger, that was also true. But he had clearly sent multiple guards to protect me. Even if that place was pitch dark, nothing should have happened to me. But the doctor's words now proved everything. I really had been in danger. He didn't dare imagine what exactly I had encountered. He was afraid. He couldn't bear it. Ryan's chest felt like it was being stabbed by a knife. Unable to hold back, tears poured down his face. Everyone passing by looked at him like he was insane. After he recovered slightly, he frantically stood up, shifted into wolf form, and ran toward the hospital. He described everything incoherently. The nurse listened patiently and finally pieced together what he was asking from his words. Then she directed him to the location. Ryan couldn't wait to hear everything before rushing to the address the doctor had given. When he reached the surgery room, he paced back and forth outside, waiting. He kept praying to the heavens, hoping they wouldn't take his Evelyn away. He hadn't had the chance to apologize to her yet. The surgical doors swung open and closed like a pendulum of doom. Each time the doctor emerged, Ryan's heart stopped. Each time she handed him another critical condition notice, a piece of his soul died. Critical condition notice number 7, the doctor said grimly, thrusting the paper into his shaking hands. Ryan couldn't even read the words anymore. They all blurred together into a nightmare of medical terms he didn't understand. Internal bleeding continues. Blood pressure dropping. Organ failure imminent. The 8th notice. The 9th. The 10th. By the 12th critical condition notice, Ryan was barely standing. He had been pacing the hospital corridors for hours, his legs weak from exhaustion and terror. Alpha, a nurse whispered to her colleague. He hasn't eaten or slept since he got here. Should we leave him? The other nurse replied coldly. After what he did to his Luna, he deserves every second of this agony. Ryan heard them but didn't care. Their judgment meant nothing compared to the hell burning inside his chest. The 13th notice came with trembling hands. The 14th made his knees buckle. When the doctor emerged for the 15th time, her face was grave as stone. Alpha, she said quietly, pulling off her surgical gloves. We need to talk. Ryan's world tilted sideways. Is she? He couldn't finish the question. The doctor sighed deeply, her shoulders sagging with exhaustion. The patient's condition is extremely dire. Her uterus was completely shattered from the impact with the silver objects. There's no way to repair the damage. She paused, watching his face carefully. We have to remove it entirely, or she'll die from internal bleeding within the hour. Ryan stared at the critical condition notice in his hands, the words swimming before his eyes. Hysterectomy. Emergency removal. No future pregnancies possible. She always wanted pups, he whispered, his voice breaking. It was all she ever talked about. Having my pups, raising our family together. The memories hit him like physical blows. Evelyn's face lighting up whenever she saw pups playing in the pack grounds. Her careful tracking of her cycles, hoping each month would be the one. The countless medical appointments. The painful treatments, the hope in her eyes that never quite died no matter how many times she was disappointed. She endured years of fertility treatments, Ryan continued, talking more to himself than to the doctor. Injections that made her sick. Procedures that left her bedridden for days. She never complained, never gave up. His hands clenched into fists. When Scarlett got pregnant, I thought it was perfect. Scarlett's pup could be raised as ours. Evelyn could finally stop suffering through all those treatments. The doctor's expression softened slightly. You thought you were helping her. I thought it was a blessing, Ryan laughed bitterly. I actually felt relieved that she wouldn't have to go through more procedures. But she must have seen it as the ultimate betrayal. He had despised people who used underhanded methods to get what they wanted. When he thought Evelyn was lying about being pregnant just to compete with Scarlett, that disgust had extended to her too. But now he knew the truth. She made a deal with the witch, he whispered. Traded her own life force just to conceive my pup. How desperate must she have been? How much did she sacrifice that I never even noticed? His tears fell onto the medical papers, smearing the ink. The doctor watched him with professional compassion. Alpha, I need your signature. We don't have much time. Will she live? Ryan asked desperately. If you do the surgery, will she survive? I don't know, the doctor admitted honestly. Her body has been through massive trauma. The silver poisoning, the internal injuries, the recent abortion, and now this. Even if we remove the damaged tissue, there's no guarantee. Ryan's hand shook as he took the pen. Doctor, he said suddenly. If she survives this, will she ever forgive me? The doctor looked at him for a long moment. That's not a medical question, Alpha. That's something only she can answer. Ryan signed his name with trembling fingers. Do whatever it takes to save her. I don't care about the cost. The doctor nodded and disappeared back through the surgical doors. Ryan collapsed into a waiting room chair, then immediately stood again. Sitting still was impossible when his mate was dying. He began pacing the corridor like a caged wolf. 2 days and 2 nights crawled by with agonizing slowness. Ryan never left the hospital. He couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't think about anything except the woman fighting for her life beyond those surgical doors. His pack members brought him food that went untouched. His assistant tried to update him on pack business that he ignored completely. Nothing mattered except Evelyn. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the surgical lights went out. Ryan had been dozing fitfully in his chair when the silence woke him. The constant hum of machines had stopped. His heart hammered against his ribs as the doctor emerged one final time. She looked like she had aged years in the past. 2 days. Her scrubs were stained, her hair disheveled, her eyes exhausted. Ryan shot to his feet. Doctor. His voice came out as a hoarse croak. How is my mate? The doctor pulled off her surgical cap and rubbed her face wearily. We managed to stop the bleeding and remove the damaged organs. Her vital signs have stabilized. Ryan felt a surge of hope. So she's going to be okay. The doctor's expression remained grave. Alpha, I need you to understand something. Yes, we saved her life. The immediate threat is over. She paused, choosing her words carefully. But her condition remains extremely critical. She's lost a tremendous amount of blood. The silver poisoning has weakened her entire system. And the trauma to her body, there could be complications we haven't seen yet. Ryan's stomach dropped. What kind of complications? She could develop infections. Her organs could fail. She might never wake up from the coma. The doctor met his eyes directly. You need to prepare yourself for the possibility that even though her body survives, she might never be the same. Brain damage from blood loss is a real concern. She could wake up with no memory of who she is, or who you are. But she's alive, Ryan whispered. Yes, the doctor confirmed. She's alive. But barely. A young nurse who had been listening shook her head in amazement. I can't believe it, she muttered to her colleague. When she first came in, I thought for sure she was here for revenge or something. All that rage and desperation, I never would have guessed he was her mate. The words hit Ryan like a slap. Even the hospital staff had assumed he was his mate's enemy rather than her protector. What kind of mate was he that strangers looked at his desperation and saw violence instead of love? Ryan ignored the nurse's whispers. His entire focus was on the doctor's words. When can I see her? She's being moved to the ICU now. You can see her through the observation window, but no direct contact yet. Her immune system is too compromised. Ryan nodded frantically. Thank you. Thank you for saving her. The doctor studied his haggard face. Don't thank me yet, Alpha. Thank me when she wakes up healthy and whole. We're not out of danger. But Ryan was already walking toward the ICU, drawn by an invisible force toward his mate. When he saw me through the glass, his heart shattered completely. I was barely recognizable under all the medical equipment. Tubes and wires covered my body like mechanical spider webs. My face was pale as death, my breathing so shallow it was barely visible. She looks so small, he whispered to himself. The Luna who had once seemed so strong and fierce now looked fragile as spun glass. Ryan pressed his palm against the window separating us. As if remembering something, he frantically wiped away his tears and picked up his phone to call the witch who studied dark magic. I command you to come here as fast as possible. This witch was the most respected figure in the pack, legendary for having methods to bring the dead back to life. Ryan had spent a fortune to keep him, promising he could freely research dark magic as long as he didn't harm pack members. Now, he placed all his hopes on the witch. He stared through the glass at me lying on the hospital bed. His eyes were burning from exhaustion, but he couldn't close them. What if something happened while he wasn't watching? What if she slipped away in the few seconds he looked away? He had already failed to protect her once. He wouldn't make that mistake again. The sound of hurried footsteps echoed through the hospital corridors. Ryan's head snapped up from where he had been slumped against the wall, his bloodshot eyes scanning the hallway desperately. Finally, the witch arrived. The ancient figure moved with surprising speed despite his advanced age, his dark robes billowing behind him as he approached the ICU. Ryan scrambled to his feet, his legs shaking from exhaustion. Magnus, he gasped, grabbing the witch's arm. Thank the moon goddess you're here. The witch's piercing blue eyes assessed Ryan's haggard appearance before turning toward the ICU window where I lay motionless among the machines. You look like hell, Alpha, Magnus observed bluntly. I don't care about me, Ryan said frantically. You have to save her. You have to save Evelyn. Magnus studied my condition through the glass, his expression grave. The hospital healers have done what they can with conventional medicine, he murmured. But silver poisoning this severe, it requires methods beyond their capabilities. Ryan fell to his knees before the witch. I'm begging you. You must save Evelyn, or all previous promises are void. I won't unconditionally support any of your magic research anymore. The desperation in his voice was raw, animalistic. Every resource I've given you, every protection I've offered your experiments, it all means nothing if you can't bring her back to me. Magnus looked down at the broken Alpha with something that might have been pity. Get up, Ryan. Groveling doesn't suit an Alpha. I don't care about my dignity, Ryan whispered. I only care about her. The witch nodded slowly. Very well. But you should know, what I'm about to attempt has never been tried on someone with this level of silver contamination. I don't care about the risks. The risks aren't to her, Magnus said quietly. The risks are to me. This level of dark magic, it could kill me in the process. Ryan's eyes met the witch's. Please. Magnus sighed deeply. Move aside. And prepare yourself, this won't be pleasant to watch. The witch pushed past the medical staff, ignoring their protests as he entered my room. Sir, you can't be in here, a nurse called out. I have the Alpha's authority, Magnus replied calmly, beginning to pull various mystical items from his robes. Ryan watched through the window as Magnus arranged crystals around my bed in precise geometric patterns. Ancient. Symbols glowed to life as the witch began chanting in a language older than memory. The medical equipment flickered and sparked as magical energy filled the room. "What's he doing?" a doctor demanded, trying to push past Ryan. "Saving my mate," Ryan growled, blocking the doorway. "No one interferes." The chanting grew louder, more intense. Magnus placed his hands directly over my chest, and brilliant white light poured from his palms. Ryan could see the effort it was taking, sweat beaded on the witch's forehead, and his entire body trembled with exertion. Hours passed. The magical arrays pulsed with otherworldly energy, far more powerful than anything the hospital's advanced healers could produce. Ryan never moved from his position guarding the door. Finally, Magnus staggered backward, nearly collapsing from exhaustion. The crystals around my bed cracked and went dark. Ryan rushed into the room. "Is she?" Magnus wiped blood from his nose, his face pale as parchment. "Alpha, we've saved her life. She's no longer in mortal danger." Ryan felt his knees give out with relief. "The silver poisoning has been neutralized," Magnus continued. "Her organs are functioning again. Her body will heal." "Thank you," Ryan whispered. "Thank you." But Magnus held up a warning hand. "However, there are complications. Her spirit, her will to survive isn't very strong." "What does that mean?" "It means she could remain in this vegetative state indefinitely. Her body lives, but her soul has retreated so far that she may never return." Magnus gathered his depleted crystals with shaking hands. "What happens next, we'll need to continue observing." But Alpha, healing her body was the easy part. Healing her heart and mind, that's something only she can choose to do. Ryan nodded frantically. "Whatever it takes. I'll do whatever it takes." Magnus studied him carefully. "The question is whether she'll want you to." After Magnus left to recover his strength, Ryan finally allowed himself to collapse. His body had been running on pure adrenaline and terror for days. Now that Evelyn was stable, the exhaustion hit him like a physical blow. He slumped to the floor, leaning against the wall outside my room. For the first time since this nightmare began, he could breathe without feeling like his chest was being crushed. But as relief flooded through him, a new determination took hold. He couldn't let me stay in that hospital room surrounded by strangers. I needed to be somewhere familiar, somewhere safe. Within hours, Ryan had made his decision. He converted the entire pack house into a medical facility specifically for me. Magnus supervised the installation of magical healing arrays in every room. The finest medical equipment money could buy was transported from the hospital. Round-the-clock healers were hired to monitor my condition. "No one enters except approved medical staff and Magnus," Ryan ordered his guards. "Absolutely no one else." His beta, Marcus, looked concerned. "Alpha, what about pack business? The territory disputes with the eastern clans? The trade negotiations?" "Handle it yourself," Ryan replied without looking away from me. "Nothing matters except her recovery." "But Alpha," I said, "handle it." Ryan's voice carried the full force of his Alpha command. "I won't leave her side again." And he didn't. Every day became exactly the same routine. Ryan would wake before dawn, having slept in the chair beside my bed. He would carefully wipe my face and hands with a warm cloth. He would brush my hair, remembering how I used to love when he ran his fingers through it. Then he would talk. "Do you remember our first date?" he would say softly. "You wore that blue dress, the one that matched your eyes. You were so nervous you could barely eat. I was nervous too, you know. I'd been watching you for months, working up the courage to ask you out. You laughed at all my terrible jokes. I knew then that you were too good for me." Day after day, he shared our memories. Our first kiss under the full moon. The night he'd asked me to be his mate. Our bonding ceremony, when the entire pack had celebrated our union. We were so happy then, he would whisper. We can be happy again. Please, Evelyn. Please come back to me. But I remained motionless, lost somewhere beyond his reach. Unknown to Ryan, I could hear every word. My consciousness had returned weeks ago, floating somewhere between sleep and waking. But every time he spoke about our past, revulsion twisted through me. Those sweet memories felt like lies now. How could he sit there talking about love and happiness when he had chosen another woman over me again and again? When he had let me nearly die rather than believe my words. His voice made my skin crawl. I deliberately kept my breathing steady, my eyes closed, my body still. I didn't want to wake up to this world where the man I'd loved had proven to be a stranger. The loss of our pup was a constant ache in my chest. The betrayal cut even deeper. These had been the two most important things in my life, Ryan and the dream of our family. Now both were gone. What was the point of living in a world without them? So I retreated further into the darkness, refusing to surface. This routine continued for weeks. Ryan never left my side except for basic necessities. He ate his meals in my room. He conducted any absolutely essential pack business from the chair beside my bed. He slept holding my hand, terrified that if he let go, I might slip away entirely. The pack house became a tomb of silence and waiting. Until today. The sound of shouting from downstairs shattered the quiet. Darling. Where are you? I miss you so much. Ryan's entire body went rigid. That voice. He knew that voice. Why won't you let me into this villa? It's me, Scarlett. The sound of a struggle echoed up the stairs, guards trying to restrain someone who was fighting them viciously. Let me go. I need to see him. Ryan. Ryan. Slowly set down the cloth he'd been using to clean my hands. His face had gone completely cold. In the week since my accident, he had conducted a thorough investigation. What he'd discovered had shattered every remaining illusion he'd had about Scarlett. I had never harmed her. Not even once. Every single attack had been staged. The life-saving grace at their first meeting. A performance orchestrated with a rogue wolf she'd paid. The monthly mating requirement. A lie told in conspiracy with a corrupt witch. The intimate photos that had destroyed my reputation. Deliberately leaked by Scarlett herself. But her manipulations went far deeper than that. She had been behind every injury I'd suffered. She had convinced the witch to demand my life force in exchange for pregnancy. She had arranged for my guards to be reassigned the night of the rogue attack. She had orchestrated the very rogue attack that nearly killed me. She had paid the servant who pushed me down the stairs. She had personally placed the silver objects at the bottom, knowing they would be fatal to any werewolf who fell. Every moment of pain I'd endured could be traced back to her calculated cruelty. When Ryan had left the pack house that day intending to have Scarlett arrested, his guards had misunderstood his furious orders. Instead of detaining her, they had let her flee. But now she had returned. And Ryan's patience had finally reached its end. He stood slowly, his movements predatory. We're getting closer. Scarlett had broken free from the guards and was climbing the stairs. Darling, she called out breathlessly. I know you're up there. She burst into my room like a whirlwind, her pregnant belly more pronounced now, her face flushed with excitement. There you are, she cried, rushing toward Ryan with her arms outstretched. Why haven't you come to be with Scarlett? The baby and I have missed you so much. She wrapped her arms around his waist, pressing her body against his. I've been so lonely without you, she purred, running her hands up his chest. Ryan's body went rigid as stone. The touch that had once ignited desire now filled him with revulsion. "Scarlet," he said quietly. "Know your place." He gripped her wrists and firmly pushed her away. Scarlet stumbled backward, her eyes wide with shock. "Darling. What's wrong?" She had never seen him reject her advances before. Usually, he would pull her close before she even reached him, desperate for the comfort she offered. "There must be some mistake," she said with a nervous laugh. "You're probably just tired from taking care of," her gaze flickered dismissively toward my motionless form. "Well, this situation is clearly stressing you out. But don't worry, once she's gone, everything can go back to normal." She reached for him again, but Ryan caught her hands before she could touch him. "I said know your place." This time his voice carried a dangerous edge. Scarlet's confusion was giving way to panic. "Ryan, you're scaring me. What's gotten into you?" "What's gotten into me?" Ryan repeated slowly. "What's gotten into me is the truth, Scarlet." His eyes had gone completely cold. "I know what you did. All of it." The color drained from Scarlet's face. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't you?" Ryan took a step closer, and Scarlet instinctively backed away. "The rogue attack you orchestrated. The guards you had reassigned. The silver objects you placed at the bottom of the stairs." With each accusation, Scarlet grew paler. "That's ridiculous. I would never." "The servant you bribed to push her. The witch you conspired with. The life force you demanded she sacrifice." "Stop," Scarlet whispered. "The photos you leaked. The lies you told. The innocent woman you tried to murder. Stop." Scarlet screamed. But Ryan continued relentlessly. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Did you think you could destroy my mate and live happily ever after with me?" Tears were streaming down Scarlet's face now. "I did it for us," she sobbed. "Everything I did was for us." She was standing in the way of our happiness. Our happiness. Ryan's laugh was bitter and cold. "There is no us, Scarlet. There never was." He stepped closer, his presence radiating menace. "Enough." His eyes flashed blood red, the sign of an alpha on the very edge of violence. "All entanglements between us end here. All these years, because of your so-called life-saving grace, I let you live like royalty. Otherwise, an Omega like you probably wouldn't have survived until now. If you leave me now, I'll spare you for the pup's sake. Don't come bothering me again." Hearing Ryan's voice, I only thought he was despicable. Hadn't he treasured her before? Why was he pushing her away now? Seeing his resolute expression, Scarlet understood that Ryan had made up his mind to drive her away. But she had worked so hard to climb this high branch, how could she easily let go? "But I never expected she would target me." She quickly ran to my bedside and destroyed the magical array the witch had arranged with precious stones. "Is it only when she's dead that you can be with me with a clear conscience?" Ryan's eyes widened as he slapped her hard across the face, then began shouting for the witch. The witch from the auxiliary building quickly rushed over and rapidly repaired the magical array in my room. Fortunately the witch arrived in time, and I wasn't in any life-threatening danger. After Ryan breathed a sigh of relief, he turned and kicked Scarlet viciously in the stomach. "Don't be ungrateful. If you dare harm Evelyn, I'll kill you." Scarlet clutched her stomach in pain. She had never seen him this angry before. By the time she realized something was wrong, it was too late. Ryan's guards had already dragged her out. No matter how much she cried and screamed, it was useless. Ryan even announced through the Wolf Council her crimes of harming the Pax Luna and Air. And had her executed. Then he slowly turned to look at me. When he reached my bedside, he suddenly dropped to his knees. Ryan lowered his voice and cried heartbrokenly. "Evelyn, I beg you, please wake up soon, okay? Don't you want to travel the world? When you wake up, I'll take you anywhere you want, okay? I really miss you so much. He crouched beside me crying for a long time, and I also had a very long dream. I dreamed of the moon goddess. She told me there was nothing insurmountable in life, that living was most important, that only by living was there hope. She told me I must survive. And I understood. Ryan was just a passerby in my life. I didn't need to throw away my life for him. Moreover, the moon goddess said in my dream that surviving this great disaster would bring great fortune. This was heaven's blessing upon me. So I developed the will to live. The witch was overjoyed, repeatedly saying that with proper treatment, I would definitely wake up. Ryan's heart also filled with hope, and he worked even harder to stay by my side. I don't know how long I lay in that hospital bed. I only remember that when I woke up, spring had arrived outside with flowers blooming, everything was just right. Seeing me wake up, Ryan cried even harder with excitement. He cried and tried to hug me, but I sternly rebuked him. Don't touch me. He didn't think much of it, just excitedly kept saying okay. After he calmed down and wiped away his tears, he gripped my hand tightly. His eyes were very sincere. Evelyn, please forgive me, okay? I was wrong then, I was a bastard. Those words that hurt you were because I was deceived, don't take them seriously. I pulled my hand away and turned my head coldly. Let's dissolve the mate bond. I want to leave this place and embrace my new life. My words left him speechless for a moment, his expression panicked, as if searching for excuses. Evelyn, are you still not fully recovered from just waking up? I'm very clear-headed. Ryan, don't talk about forgiveness or not, you have no right to be forgiven by me. I could never forgive you either. I'm not stupid, I won't jump into the same fire pit twice. After we dissolve the mate bond, let's never see each other again. I really didn't want to hear him speak anymore, so I laid it all out. Get out. I don't want to see you. He opened his mouth to say something more, but after I harshly said, get out. He walked toward the door, turning back to look at me every few steps. After that, no matter what sweet words Ryan said to me each day when he came in, I ignored them all. Everything he brought me, I threw away completely. When I felt truly irritated, I would go out for rehabilitation training. This went on for 2 or 3 months. My body had recovered almost completely, and I could leave. But Ryan was on the verge of a breakdown because my attitude toward him remained cold. He seemed to realize that I truly hated him, and it wasn't like before when I would immediately forgive him as soon as he put effort into coaxing me. On the day I left, I handed Ryan the mate bond dissolution agreement I had drafted a few days earlier. But he suddenly dropped to his knees, tears in his eyes as he begged me carefully. Evelyn, can we please not separate? I swear I'll love you wholeheartedly from now on. I'll never let you suffer any grievance again. Please don't leave me, okay? I'll die without you. I didn't even glance at him and said coldly. Then go ahead and die. After hearing these words, he collapsed completely to the ground. He knew very clearly in his heart that I would never turn back for him. I really didn't want to say another word to him. I dropped the signed agreement and left directly. Before leaving, I turned back and said one last thing. If you refuse to sign, I'll submit the application directly to the Wolf Council. He didn't follow me. After going outside and breathing fresh air, I felt refreshed and clear-headed. I thought that changing environments was the real way to start over, so I left the pack to join a newly established small pack. I became a warrior, improving myself through combat and daily training. The self I had lost in romantic love was gradually found again. The days passed quickly and were fulfilling. Before I knew it, several months had gone by. But the mate bond still hadn't been severed. Just as I was preparing to submit an application to the original pack council, I suddenly saw Ryan on my way home. In just a few short months, he looked like he had aged decades. When I thought he was still coming to beg for my forgiveness, he handed me a signed agreement instead. This was truly unexpected. After I signed my name, I discovered he had left me all his personal liquid assets and priceless gemstones, not including his real estate holdings. He knew I would never go back. He left with nothing, giving me all the fruits of his years of hard work. But I accepted it with a clear conscience. After all, what he owed me couldn't be repaid with just this money. After signing, I turned to leave, but Ryan suddenly grabbed my wrist. "Evelyn, if I miss you, can I come see you anytime?" I shook my head. "No. I never want to see you again." I don't know what expression he had. I left without looking back. This matter came to a close, and I began to focus on living my life well. But I never expected that 2 years later, I would see Ryan's name in the news. He had led his pack in constant outward expansion, continuously absorbing surrounding packs. This eventually triggered a coordinated siege by neighboring packs, and he died in battle. His image in my memory had already become blurred. Even seeing his name in the news, I could barely remember what he looked like. So I felt no emotion whatsoever. I simply focused on living my own life well.